Hello and welcome to our Thursday edition of Chart Request Live. I like to call this the People's Show. We're here to interact with our friends and viewers, take chart requests. We'll talk a little bit about the broader market real quick, but we want to get right to the request. So, hi, Patrick. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. How are you?
Doing great. So I'm on charting today. You're taking the week off?
You're on charting duty today. I did it last time, so it's your turn.
Pat, before you give me the first one here, what if I told you that the S&P 500 was having its best week of the year? Does it feel like it?
So when I checked yesterday, it was the best since March, but now it's the best year to date.
Best
Wow,
since
look at that.
September.
Look at that. Coming out right like clockwork, right? I mean, we saw as soon as the calendar hit August, that first kind of rocky month.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Market peaked on July 31st, last day of July, and then August we pulled back. And then here we are. Is this going to be it? We'll see.
Listen, my data is not going to come in yet. I need the market to close so I could download the daily data. But I'm flipping through individual charts all day. We're thrusting. So
there you go. And what did we talk about on Monday in Spaces? How you were saying the market was lacking oomph, right? And that's what you were talking about. You were talking about the thrust. So now are you happy with what you're seeing here?
This is that oomph, right? Like all of the worst stocks are ripping. You can go like index by index, component by component, and a lot of them are having their best day of the year, best week of the year. I mean, here's ARK. This will be ARK's best week since early January, right? Oof. So like these speculative stocks really working. And you could just go on down the list. Like today, Roku up 30% on earnings, Shopify 20% on earnings, Palantir another 20. And these are just the ARK components. Like there were some massive moves today on the heels of earnings beats. So love to see it. Today is certainly for the bulls. We have strung together now a 4-day win streak. The Fed is behind us. Earnings season is close to behind us.
But you're missing one big one. Heading into the week, I texted our friend Todd and said, what do you think is a bigger event for the market?
He's such a wet blanket. What kind of marriage thing did he have to say?
Well, I just said Apple earnings or the Fed. Which one's more important to the market this week? And he seemed to think Apple earnings. So we'll see how that goes this evening.
I would take the other side of that. Listen, huge report. Apple critically important to all the indexes, but I don't know. People still buying iPhones and paying for different services in the Apple store. Is that necessarily like sign of like a strong economy or strong consumer? I don't know. It's kind of become a staple product for a lot of people.
Yeah, and we've seen the stock act like a staple time and time in risk off markets. I mean, I remember it hitting an all-time high on a relative basis back in the middle of the bear market in 2022. So it kind of acts like this safe haven sometimes.
So we're going to jump right in, but Pat, let's just do this first, right? We've been talking about a couple big levels, right? And we've been saying on the morning show that, hey, wouldn't at all surprise me if the Fed this week became the catalyst for, stocks finally picking some directions off of these key levels, right? We were talking about, I think you even used the phrase inflection point for a lot of different charts and markets when we were talking on Spaces this week. And we were, right? And what we were trying to say is big polarity zones, big levels. And I think we're getting resolutions. We're getting answers, right? So NASDAQ 100, not a top, right? Trend remains higher, all good. I think you get confirmation at this right shoulder here.
Would you call today's action a breakaway gap or not?
Not for me, right? Okay. Because I need a clear. Oh, are you kind of okay? Hold on.
I mean, it's a tough call. I think it could go either way.
So for a breakaway gap, you need a key level to be gapped through, right? So basically, is this neckline?
Yeah.
It's a little sloppy, but okay. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset if someone called it a breakaway gap.
And then last one, right? Russell 2000, monster level. We're sitting here saying, if you're going to knock on the door this many times, you're eventually going to barge in, right? And one test, two tests, three, four, five, like 6 tests of this major 160, 170 zone just this year. I got the giant box drawn in this range. So we're down here at the lower bounds. Big recovery from small caps, at least for now. Once again, defending that level. And here's what I'm talking about, right? Biggest day for the Russell 2000 since June, right? It's 5 months. So we are getting some sort of thrust, which can be measured in a variety of different ways. Excited to see the daily data at the end of the day.
There you go. We got the missing ingredient, right? You said it at the beginning of the week. What's lacking? This is what we have. So, and you know what? Russell 2000, to stay on this real quick, it was kind of a tepid bounce up until today.
Yes,
wasn't really lifting off those lows, but this is confirmation. This is a clear bounce.
And the breadth today, Pat, really stands out, right? Like super, super bullish breadth. I'm going to go sector by sector. Everything is green in real estate. Everything is green in utilities. Everything is green in consumer cyclical. Everything's green in energy. Financials, reinsurance, and property and casualty insurance are red. Everything else is green. Industrials, every single subsector is higher today. Same for technology. Same for communications. Materials, silver's down.
Silver just can't catch a break.
Healthcare, everything. So literally, there's like 3 industry groups that are red on the day. So some really bullish breath. Let's talk about some stocks.
Yeah, let's get to some of the mailbag ones first. So first up from Joshua, we got Raytheon, RTX.
Raytheon recently merged with Lockheed, right? No. Who'd they merge with? There was some big merger there.
I was going to say that'd be a massive merger.
So you had some form of like a top here. Let's zoom out, look at the weekly. Let me delete these drawings. These aerospace and defense stocks are kind of low vol. You ever feel that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Boeing, things like that, yeah.
Just going to take this off now. We're looking at a weekly. This is interesting.
Now, transports have been real weak, and this kind of gets in. Aren't some of these defense names grouped in to transports?
No, I don't think so. And at least not right.
This would be an industrial, yeah, I guess.
I guess Boeing kind of toes that line. You're right.
Yeah.
Some of them do, right? Transport and defense. I don't know about. Listen, I don't know much about this space. Let's go on ARKK. No,
That's a clear level there.
It's important to know what you don't know as an investor, right? You get yourself into a lot of trouble that way.
Very well said. Very well said.
Definitely not going to pretend to be any sort of A&D expert, but I do know that this is a textbook top. Got the breakdown, right? Plunged lower. Talk about a breakaway gap, Patrick. Hey, now.
Yeah.
Right. So this is just textbook breakaway gap right here to the downside.
Yeah, to the downside.
But again, that's what they look like, right? Because you have a really clean level, these prior lows acting as a clear neckline, and then boom, fire right through it, get a couple weeks of downside follow through. Would have made for a good trade, but now reversing hard, right? So this would fall now into the failed pattern category, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Failed moves, fast moves.
And you can run this one back. I like this for a trade. You could run this one right back to these highs, right? You got a big cluster here, just above 100. Key $100 level. That's a nice trade, Pat. 25% or more.
Yeah, and this is one where I think you'd probably be shooting for even higher than the all-time highs. I mean, that's a good initial target, but I'd want to see it extend even further on that shakedown.
Totally. But even so, I mean, look, clean entry here, right? At this key breakdown level, you could almost call this like, I guess not quite an island.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, so something like that.
But the psychology of that pattern is similar, right? Shakedown.
But what, you're risking $3 here to pick up 20, 25?
Yeah. And possibly play all-time highs, right?
Earnings is behind it. A nice positive reaction on earnings. That kind of sparked this gap. What's next?
So this one isn't from the mailbag. We'll go back to those in a second, but I wanted to get on this one, and I know you've been watching it too. AMD.
Dude, what an encouraging piece of data we got from AMD yesterday.
They reported what, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yesterday.
Okay.
Just ripped higher on earnings. So AMD, as you can see, I already have it marked up. I traded this leg in late September, made a little bit of money. You remember. I was thinking that was the tradable low. Held on to some of my trades a little bit too long, to be honest. Here it is for me, 105, right? The base is completed at 105. Let's get this 200-day moving average back on the chart to illustrate why. Sloping firmly higher here beneath price. I'm anchoring some VWAPs from both the pivot high and the summer high, the year-to-date high. If I was going to publish a chart like this, I'd mark it up with beautiful base. Boom.
I like it.
All right, so the reversal is in. So you got the base completed, a nice gap move on the completion of that base to tell you, boy, this is a decisive upside resolution, but then really frustrating any buyers, right? After this base breakout with from May to now, 6 months of just slowly melting lower, right? In a really clean and well-defined channel.
Yeah.
Which we're now breaking out of with, again, a big decisive candle from yesterday, a big earnings candle, just like the breakout gap here, right? I think you get confirmation of this channel break. You never want to put too much weight on decisive candle from yesterday, a big earnings candle, just like the breakout gap here, right? Is that me or you?
I think that was me. Sorry.
Okay, all good. I was like, did my YouTube start playing?
Yeah.
So again, now a decisive breakout of this channel, but you never want to put too much emphasis on a diagonal trend line. I think you get confirmation when the year-to-date high AVWAP gets broken, and it got tested today. And interestingly enough, AMD is one of very few stocks that's actually lower on the day. So it's struggling at that VWAP. The market here reminding us that this is an important level. Wait for that confirmation, but I think then AMD is very buyable. And again, just like Raytheon, you're risking a few dollars here, and you can either trade this back to the year-to-date highs around 130, but I would say, Pat, just like you were saying about Raytheon, it's going to overshoot. And if this is truly a nice, reversal pattern, which it sure seems to be, this was just a little digestion after the move, we're going to go back to these old highs around 163. So you got like 60% plus in this one.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. And you know what? You didn't even touch on one of my favorite aspects of this chart. First of all, AMD is just such a great trading stock. But my favorite aspect about this chart, we covered it in the heat check real quick earlier in the week. If you put RSI on here, has a nice bullish momentum divergence, and it didn't even reach oversold amid that channel down.
Beautiful, right? And you're seeing that from tech indexes and the strongest tech stocks. So why don't we make that a rule? If you're going to go fishing in the strongest pond, right? Tech, NASDAQ 100, mega cap growth, then make sure that the charts look like the indexes and haven't been oversold.
I like that. I like that rule a lot. So let's go back to the mailbag requests. This one comes from Joseph. The ticker is BHP. He owns this one and he's not sure what to do with it at the moment. So approach it from that kind of lens.
Is this the old BHP Billiton?
I believe so, right? BHP Group.
There we go. Yeah, this is the chart. So let me just double check that this is what I think it is. The metals conglomerate, I believe. Yeah. 6% yield. Is that right? Sometimes trading.
Wow.
But it's a giant company, about 150 billion. Iron ore, coal, copper. I think they do some precious metals too.
Yeah, I'm seeing about 6%. 5.8.
Here's the problem. Just like gold or copper or any of these metal assets, giant mess, giant range.
Oh yeah.
Let's do a little exercise here, Pat.
With a lot of these precious metal stocks, Steve, I've been really surprised at how weak they've been. I mean, here we have gold just a few dollars away from record highs, but a lot of these gold miners, at least, I know this one isn't particularly a gold miner, but looking at the commodity itself versus the metal, at least in gold, it's kind of lacking.
Overlaying it with commodity indexes, because that's what you're buying here, right? Yeah, it really overlays nicely with gold, not so much the commodity index itself, because that's mostly oil.
Yeah.
These guys. So I guess here's the
Is
point.
this one in steel SLX?
I don't know.
I'm gonna check out it.
I don't think it's US based. But basically I'm overlaying gold here just to show very big, messy mess. Gold is in blue, BHP is in black. If you zoom in here, you can see they both kind of made a run at those old highs a few years back and have just been stuck in these sideways ranges ever since. This. Boom.
So let's say you bought this one. I know we don't really know where Joseph bought at, but what would you do with it if you're sitting in it, you're not sure what to do, hasn't really done much, looks like.
Yeah. If you want to keep it tight, it's right here. Really clear support level. You probably don't want to be involved tactically if we're below about 54, 55, right? And then in terms of not sure what his time frame is, but for a price target to the upside, you have like a little double top formation here around 70. So that's it. Again, it's a range and we'll keep it tight to the downside. You could draw another, support level down here, but I wouldn't be hanging out in it that long, right? So that's really what you're dealing with. It's a sloppy one. If we put a 200-day on it, it'll illustrate that straight sideways, right?
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at ticker L.
And that's the case for most commodity stocks and commodity assets, right, Pat? Whether it's
Yeah.
crude oil, copper, energy stocks, rangy.
Very rangy, very rangy.
What was the ticker?
So let's take a look at L, Lowe's Corporation.
Yeah, somebody asked about this on the morning show, and I felt bad because Spencer and JC are always hijacking the show. I wanted to talk about all the earnings today. And so many earnings report. Like it was an onslaught of just bullish earnings.
Today or yesterday?
Today,
right? Yeah. For some reason, Thursdays seem to be the day.
So we couldn't even get to them all. I guess Lowe's wasn't an earnings report from today. They just reported a few days back.
Yeah, still this week, though, Monday.
Yeah, so decent.
And this is an insurance stock, right? Insurance stocks have been on fire.
Been on fire, not participating so much today, interestingly enough.
Yes.
That's how you draw this one. Really clean level here. Look at this, off a sweet uptrend from the 2020 lows. Should we just fib it out this range, right?
Yeah. And Steve, I like that you kind of exclude that false move there.
Yeah.
Earlier in my technical career, I would use that as the ultimate high. But then you realize, if you're looking at that chart in real time, you see that breakout. The real level was the former highs there, and that was the false move. So you drew that correctly, in my opinion.
So it's a good topic. I can't take credit for this. Really, I got this from Wyckoff analysis, right?
I like it. And by the way, Steve, I have been more and more of a fan of Wyckoff lately.
It's great. It's some of the best technical work, at least that I know of, right? I haven't read it all. I've read a lot of it. And Wyckoff is just so good because it's all about accumulation and distribution. And that's really
there's a lot of market psychology in it too. That's what I love.
And what he basically, the point he makes is that you almost always get an overshoot in both directions, right? So when you're analyzing a range, you're going to get overshoots, right? And we see it on all these charts. So the point is when you draw that horizontal support and resistance line, you just want a lot of touches, right? So like when I look at something like this, and the reason I drew this way is because my brain sees this one overshooting, but then this lower line, a touch, and then some more touches over here, right? So that's the
I love it, yeah.
I'm just listening to the market and drawing the lines accordingly, right? So never
Yeah,
feel like you can't just draw right through some sort of blow off. And you saw it here. Really got overheated, overextended, and gapped right lower. It was there for a day.
yeah.
Anyway, when we do
No,
fib
that
it,
was that was a great aside. I really enjoyed that. Sorry.
when we do fib it out, 77. I think you can jump this at the pivot highs right here, like 65.50. I think you get confirmation at these highs from last year around 66, right? But we're talking about dollars and cents here.
Right.
65, 66, target 77. Pat, great point. Really strong name. Just to illustrate that quickly, let's look at the relative trend between lows and the broader market. So there you go.
Oh, nice.
Versus the S&P 500, also pressing back towards highs. So,
All right. Well, we're getting down to the last 5 minutes, so let's try to rip through some, shall we? I know we didn't get to as many in the chat as we usually will, but we're gonna try to rip through as many of these as we possibly can.
we might have to make the show longer.
I know. I really do enjoy this show. So anyway, let's go to Curtis MU.
Listen, I've been stalking this one. This is one of the stocks that I held on to a little bit too long a few weeks back when I was trying to trade this little tradable low. But I like Micron, man.
Really?
Yeah, I like the way this stock trades. Oh, God. See, you can tell which stocks I like because look at this mess. Let me clean this up. Okay. So why do I like it? Textbook reversal in place. This is the daily chart. Let's draw out the arc super quick here. Try to get a couple more in before we have to stop for the day. There it is. There's the reversal. I think that reversal is valid above 64, right?
That is a pretty solid base.
So clean level there. And then similar to AMD, like we just talked about, you got the base breakout back in May, and then just slop straight sideways for 5 or 6 months. That's a long time to consolidate. Like, yes,
that's enough time to give up on it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which is great. From a psychology.
Right.
So after the break or after the base breakout, just a massive range. You could draw this in a number of different ways. Something like this, right?
Yeah.
Use the VWAP. It's here to help us. So when you anchor it from the year-to-date highs, I mean, look, we're well above it. Buyers are maybe not in control, but not in control. I think you use 71, 72 as an entry here, and target is back at those old highs. Listen, if this is a new bull market, our thesis is correct, right? And all those big gains and beautiful rally we had earlier in the year is going to be sustained, and we're going to move higher from here. Stocks like Micron are going back to these old highs. So that would be just south of 100, 97, 98.
I like it. Let's go to JBL real quick.
Yep, JABIL. They make grocery store robots.
Really? Like the checkout ones or what?
I don't know. But they do things like that, industrial robotics. I saw a robot in a grocery store one day, and I had to Google it. And as it turns out, it was from JABIL. I don't think we're saying this right. When you zoom out, just look at what a good stock this has been forever.
Yeah. Really secular uptrend.
It's a weekly chart, right? Know you're in a winner. Just got a massive base breakout, dated all the way back to .com bubble. Look at this.
Yeah, that is a massive, massive base. And those are always the toughest to get into once they go.
Because they take time. They take their sweet ass time. Right.
Yeah, and it's really not obvious. It'll like kind of inch higher every day, and all of a sudden you're up 8% from the breakout level, then 20, then
you zoom into a daily chart, you forget that the breakout happened on a weekly or a monthly chart.
Yeah.
So look, if we fibbed it from right here from this base, let's just see. Yeah. So it reacted to the 161 a little bit when it got there. A lot of bit, right? And now it's kind of back in the middle of no man's land. If we were to fib a more recent wave, like the COVID bear, that might give you something a little bit cleaner to work with. Again, with a stock like this, I feel like I say it on here all the time. Strong stock, beautiful uptrend. You're really just looking for a responsible way to get in and manage your risk in as tight of a way as possible. So if you want to use this 423, 129. Otherwise, just go to the pivot highs. Just come in around 140. Something like this, I would give it room to breathe. I mean, look, it's extended from the 200 day, so wouldn't be crazy to see some backing and filling. Maybe for a stop, give it to 100, but that's 25%, right? So not for everybody. If you want to be more tactical in this, use the pivot highs or lows. You got a nice little box right there. So a bunch of different ways to do this. This is the conundrum with strong stocks. They're the hardest to get into, right? The hardest to enter and craft trades around because there's not much sideways. There's not as much price memory. It's more vertical.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And I think you made a good point there about just finding a way to get in responsibly. But let's look at one more, and then let's end on Apple too, because that one's, I think, a good one to end on. But let's take a look at Walmart. This one comes from One Hole. We also got a request for Solana too, Steve, and I know you probably want to talk about that one.
We're doing it.
Okay, cool.
Walmart.
Shout out to Jared.
What a company. Let's just, if you own Walmart, let's just flip to a competitor quickly. This is Target. This is what you could have owned instead of Walmart. Right. So it's not like anybody and everybody in the space is doing well. You have like Walmart and Costco, then you have everybody else. Back, it's, you know, that same old, the big just keep getting bigger theme. Walmart absolutely crushing it. This stock looks as good as any like non-tech, non-growth stock. So if we just fib this range, boom. Because there's a major consolidation, right? So it is a big stock, typically a low volatility stock, but it's gone sideways, Pat, for 3 years now, right?
Yeah.
Resolving this range.
It's a big range, but still sideways. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's your stop, 160, 10% to the downside.
That makes sense.
187. Yeah.
Nice little V recovery too.
It's just a great stock. What's the dividend yield on this these days? 1.4. 450 billion. All right. Solana.
Wow. Yes, and I want to try to get to wavies too, but if we can't, we'll have to save it for next time.
What's Wavy trying to short today?
No, he's actually looking at TIM, new 52-week high, TIMB. Should we take a look at that one, then end on Solana?
No. Let's just let's get Solana out of the way. Boom.
Cool.
Nasty downtrend. I was early into this one and very late to get out. Basically rode it to like 25x back to where I started. So very excited.
25x. What the heck?
Yeah, dude. I bought this one like 2020. Very early on. This was
I know
also
some people that got very wealthy off this.
Yes, we have some good friends. But I think a lot of they round tripped it too. So no, but listen, crypto might be back. People are getting excited again. And this one, you know, to that point, Pat, it is funny. But people in the know, our Silicon Valley friends, our friends who know crypto things, always been a super, super bullish narrative around Solana. Is it true? I don't know. That's above my pay grade. But what I do know, nice little base here, clean breakout. Boom. Stretch this out. I think the base is in above like 30 and change. 30, 31. So
wow.
the reversal is very much underway. I mean, look, you could show it in a number of ways.
Is it alt season?
I think we might be headed back. That sort of an environment. The alts have woken up in a big way.
They have, and you didn't get that earlier this year when crypto was first kind of perking up.
That's right. And how about Bitcoin? You know, if this really is the tradable low or the correction low, this was a nasty correction. I'm sorry. And JC comes on here like, oh, it's such a normal correction. This is kind of nasty.
For equities, you're saying.
Yeah, but how about Bitcoin kind of tipping for the broader
market? Is that a tell kind of thing? Or just the fact that it held up so well, right? Like, my gosh.
It was ripping, breaking out to new 52-week highs. Stocks were getting crushed. Now all of a sudden, stocks were like, hey, they're having their best week. What was Bitcoin telling us, right?
Right. You turn on the news, they're trying to figure out whether we're in a recession. Bitcoin's just like, I don't care.
I was talking about it on our video yesterday on Hot Corner. I was like, you know, from a risk appetite perspective, you could say, hey, look at staples and utilities showing relative strength and low volatility names outperforming. Or you could say, look at Bitcoin, right? Like, what's the read for risk appetite? Very mixed. But I think Solana, the reversals in, first stop, 100. Going back to 100.
Wow. Be a pretty important psychological level, too. That would make a lot of sense.
Got to be above 27, 30-ish.
Did it clear those highs from last fall there, those September highs? It looks like it kind of wicked into them.
This one?
No, go like if you go to your left a little bit further, that kind of area price action.
Here?
Yeah. Did it clear that high there? No,
it tested it.
It tried. Okay.
This is what Pat's talking about.
Listen, I'm okay that it wicked into it. You know, that's absorbing some of the supply at least. It's working on it.
Yeah, listen, it's been a huge move. Like, from a momentum standpoint, look, we haven't seen a overbought weekly RSI reading since 2021, and on a daily basis, it's got to be the highest momentum we've seen in. Yeah, so we had a similar momentum thrust back in January when the move kind of began. Look, it all looks good from a momentum perspective. For this thing to regularly just clock readings like in the mid to upper 80s this year, not bad, right?
Yeah.
For something like crypto too, like you look at this RSI here, and what a lot of technicians would do is understand that this is a more volatile asset, and they would move out the period or the time frame on the momentum reading. So do you see what that did? Now you're closer to not getting oversold readings, right? And being able to say this is a bullish regime. For
that makes sense.
Assets or longer time frames, you would lower the RSI period. And that's just a little helpful hint.
Look at that RSI confirming those new highs too. Not diverging, confirming. That's pretty telling. So we got to wrap it up. We're already running over. Did you want to try to get to TIMB?
Yeah, let's do wavies. Which one is it?
Yeah. And by the way, thank you, Jared, for bringing up Solana. I'm glad we kind of mixed it up a little bit.
Yeah, crypto counts, guys.
Crypto counts, absolutely.
Currency, commodity futures, whatever. International stocks, go crazy. Just not
orange juice,
micro cap
rice.
We only draw the line on the pink sheets here.
As long as it's got price and volume, we're good, right?
What is this ticker? TIMB? Timberland?
TIMB, new 52-week high today. Wireless telecom. It's a telecom, Steve. 4% dividend.
I'll bet it's an international one. Yeah, SA. So what is that? France?
What is SA? Yeah, it's something European. Italy, maybe? Brazil? Brazil. Yeah, headquartered in Rio de Janeiro.
Rio. Yeah, they all have their own, like, that's like Inc., right? SA.
Yeah.
Sick chart, wavy. Yeah, so momentum.
And he's not shorting it. He's not.
I love that. So momentum.
Or at least he didn't say he was. I can't speak for wavy.
Firmly in a bullish regime here. Let's just look at this base. Yeah, okay. Here we go. That's it. That's the way I want to look at this. Whenever something's too gappy, this is an ADR that happens. It's just super gappy. Don't be afraid to just
This
look at
cheese chart, that's what I call those.
Yeah. Right. Holes everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. I don't like where the fibs are lining up, so I don't need them. I think you got a big range here. And I really like the way that we coiled right at the upper bounds of that range.
Yeah, for months.
Yeah. Big coil here. We got super tight. And
we're just resolving.
Blasting through, blasting out of this range called a bull flag, whatever. But it's not just a little flag resolution or this little coil resolution, but it's also a larger base resolution. So I would say for this one, if you're looking for the trade rather than the investment, and you might be looking for an investment with a dividend like this, but the trade would be back to those highs, 20, 25%.
Wow.
And you're tight here, right? You know, if this is not a bull flag, it's going to fail very soon. And you're going to be out with 30 cents a downside.
Yeah.
So that's it. Nice call, Wavy. I like this structure a lot. Good base.
Very good. Very good. Well, guys, thank you so much for bringing all these awesome tickers. I'm so sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but we will try to take note, and JC will try to get to them on Tuesday. Steve, any last thoughts? Any thoughts heading into Apple earnings today? It seems like a lot of people are holding their breath, although market's kind of just ripping. It seems like it's kind of front running it if it's going to be positive.
The broader market's not going to trade in sympathy with Apple.
Right.
Right. So again, Apple is important for one reason, because it's the biggest component in most of the most important indexes in the US and the world. It's the biggest stock in the world. So yeah, of course you want to see it beat, but it doesn't like negate all the beats from today if Apple comes out and misses. So
I see. That's a good point.
Big deal. Not the end of the world. I think right now the past 4 days have just been so encouraging. We get a strong close tomorrow. Some sort of tradable low is in. I would even say the correction low is in. And maybe we finally get that rally into year end, because things were really, really on the brink of having to turn pretty bearish, right?
Let me rephrase my question. Do you think today's action makes Apple's earnings less important?
For sure.
Or less necessary?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. The market has already picked its direction, regardless of what Apple comes out and does tonight. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. These are,
right,
you guys got some great charts as always. Yeah.
So happy Thursday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow and every day to the morning show, 8:30 to 10 o'clock, right here on Stock Market TV. Thanks, Pat.
Cheers. Take care.
Bye, everybody.